Welcome back to another day in the 30 Days of Wise Ideas series. Today is day 30. It's the last day for this section of the series. I really want to congratulate you for sticking with it so long and for being a part of us on this journey for this 30 days. For me, it's been a fun time. I hope it has been for you too. So let's dive into today's wise idea. Today's wise idea is about a lasting legacy. And as always, our wise ideas are taken from the book of Proverbs in the scriptures. The Proverbs of Solomon. A wise son makes his father glad, but a foolish son brings grief to his mother. Treasures of wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivers from death. Yahweh, God, will not allow the soul of the righteous to go hungry, but he thrusts away the desire of the wicked. He becomes poor who works with a lazy hand, but the hand of the diligent leads to wealth. He who gathers in the summer is a wise son, but he who sleeps during the harvest brings shame. Blessings are upon the head of the righteous, but violence covers the mouth of the wicked. The memory of the righteous is blessed, but the name of the wicked will rot. So today is our last day of the 30-day series, and I really pray that you've been blessed. If you want more great resources, you should check out the website, vaughnberkeley.com. So let's dive in about what we just understood. We see here explained that a wise son is equal to or makes a glad father. Look around at fathers around you. Any fathers you know? Do those fathers seem happy about their sons? Because a father wants to look at his son and see that, oh, my son is doing well. My son is advancing. My son has done well. My son knows what he's doing in his life. Father wants to see that. So a wise son makes a glad father. And of course, a mother is glad too. But what about a foolish son? It says a foolish son brings grief or creates a grieving mother. Why is that? Because a foolish son might make his father a little bit anxious or worried or concerned about the boy's behavior and mannerism. But his mother, who will be more emotional and more feeling, may feel grief. And I've seen this, I think, in the past, a long time ago. I've seen a son that got mixed up with a bad crowd and ended up in trouble with the police. And that son caused grief to his mother, because when she found out, she was very, very sad and was frantic and was trying to figure out what she can do to help her son get out of that situation. She was really trying. And so the father of that individual wasn't in the picture, so I can't say what the father's reaction was. I only saw the mother's reaction. So I've seen this firsthand, that a foolish son can cause grief to his mother. Remember, we're talking about legacy here. So that foolish son that got mixed up with a bad crowd, that ended up in trouble with the police, what kind of legacy is he leaving? Not a very good one. But a wise son, who is doing things diligently and righteously, who's making his father glad because of his wisdom, that person is leaving a legacy. But let's go on. What does wisdom teach us about more on this topic? It says the treasure of wickedness is profitless or pointless. It's like I mentioned previously in a different video in the series. Ill-gotten gains are like dust in your hand. You try to hold on to it, but it's slipping through your fingers. It's like dust. So it's pointless. Why are you picking up this dust trying to hold on to it? And not just any dust, maybe fine dust that you can't hold on to. That's treasures of wickedness. Wisdom also teaches us that treasures of righteousness delivers from death. It delivers from righteousness. And there's two types of death that all men should face, right? There's a earthly death, the death of this body. And after that, there's a spiritual death which we can face. Messiah taught, don't be afraid of those that can kill the body. Be afraid of him who can kill both body and soul. Spiritual death. So treasures of righteousness brings deliverance from death. That is that spiritual death as well. Isn't life a good legacy to leave behind? Think about it. Another thing that wisdom taught us in this was that Yahweh won't allow the soul of the righteous to go hungry. That person will be fed. That person needs will be attended to. And it says Yahweh casts away the desires of the wicked. So everything they want, he takes it away from them. He casts it out of their sight so they can't achieve it. So they're constantly chasing after something which they can't get. Now you may think of some rich people who are wicked. They seem happy at times with their money, but deep down inside, there's an emptiness and a void, or a sadness or a terror in the darkness of the night that they can't escape. What they desire most, internally, mentally, in their soul, they can't even get, because you can't buy that with money. You have to go to your Father in heaven and seek those things which are spiritual. So again, looking at legacy, when the desires of the wicked are cast away, how can they have any kind of a legacy? Another wise idea is work plus a lazy hand equals poverty. So someone who does work but does it in a haphazard way, in a careless way, or they don't even do the work, that will equal to poverty. That will lead to poverty. A person like that will remain in poverty. And what do you see in the world today going on with a lot of young people that don't like work? They don't want to work. They don't want to do anything. And so what do they get? Poverty. They may do a little part-time odd job to get some money to survive, but that's all they do, survive. They're not thriving. They're not on the road that leads to prosperity. And maybe part of it too is the whole economy and the environment is discouraging, where it seems like a young person in Canada, at least I can say, can't afford to buy a house. There's no way a young person can save up the amount of money needed to buy a house at these extreme prices. So that may be discouraging. There's other parts of the world, in China, in other places, where they have thrown up their hands in frustration. They're doing the work, but they're not doing it with enthusiasm. They're doing work in a sort of a lazy way because they don't see any benefit. They don't see any joy at the end of it. There is no pleasure at the end of all their work. Now, wisdom also teaches us work plus a diligent hand equals to wealth or leads to wealth. And isn't that the prosperity that every father wants to give to his children and his children's children? So the diligent hand of a father applied to work according to wisdom should lead to wealth. Wisdom also teaches us a wise son gathers in the summer, but a foolish son sleeps during the harvest. Harvest time is when you should be out in the field gathering your crop. Most of us are not farmers today, so our perspective would be the grocery. We go to the supermarket to buy our food. There may be some disconnect with this particular saying. Like, what do you mean gathering in the summer and sleeping during harvest? Well, what is that? Well, how can we think about it? In Toronto, years ago, there was a man called Honest Ed. This Honest Ed owned a store in Toronto, in downtown Toronto. It was about a one block store, and it sold a whole bunch of cheap stuff. It was like a dollar store before a dollar store was popular. Every year around Thanksgiving, he would have a truck filled with turkeys parked outside his big store, and people would come down and line up around the block, at his store to get a free turkey for Thanksgiving. So in that example, a wise son would be standing in line early to make sure he could get a free turkey. But a foolish son would sleep late in his bed. If this Honest Ed guy started giving out turkeys at 10 in the morning, and the foolish son waking up at 2 o'clock and trying to head downtown to see if he can get the turkey, and it might be finished by 2 o'clock. He slept through the harvest. So that's one way our modern society can think about that. There's other things too in life. There's opportunities where young people can earn online, but they don't want to. Times have changed a bit from the industrial age, but those changes have brought greater opportunities in this information age. It's not time to sleep. It's time to wake up and look for more opportunities. Wisdom also teaches us that righteousness brings blessing on that person's head. The righteous gets blessings on their head. Think of it like hair ointment or hair oil, to nourish your hair and to make you beautiful. This blessing is poured on your hair, on your head, and you get a blessing for righteousness. But violence covers the mouth of the wicked. So wicked people, you get bugs in your mouth, basically, because it's violence. Another thing wisdom teaches us is about the memory of the righteous is blessed. People remember the righteous person. But the wicked, his name will rot. Now, we're on the topic of legacy. People have a tendency to want to be remembered. I remember at Ryerson University, now it's called Toronto Metropolitan University. Years and years ago, I knew the story of Ryerson's Continuing Education University. I'll use the old name. Right? Ryerson had a school of continuing education, or their continuing education department, which was night school and part-time courses. And I remember the university was having a big fundraising campaign. It was going on for several years, I think. And then there was an announcement that the School of Continuing Education would be renamed from the Continuing Education, School of Continuing Education at Ryerson. It would be renamed to the G. Raymond Chang School of Continuing Education, or something along those lines. And why was it renamed like that? Because Mr. Chang had made a sizable contribution to the School of Continuing Education, to the university. And I think he was directly involved in a partnership, in funding a partnership, or as well as contacts between Jamaica and Ryerson University. I happened to be around that project as well. So I know a little bit about the details, and I was on some of the committees around that. Mr. Chang, who I met a couple times, a very quiet man and well spoken, he gave his money to the university to help Jamaica, where he was a Chinese guy and he was a Jamaican. When you hear him speak, he had a Jamaican accent. But he wanted to help the country where he was born, and he became a success in Canada, a chairman of a financial company, and was very wealthy. And so he gave money to the school and he facilitated this deal with Jamaica. And so, in giving money to the school, he had the school renamed to the G. Raymond Chang School of Continuing Education. So that name, his name, G. Raymond Chang, is printed on letterhead. His name is on certificates granted through the School of Continuing Education. His name is being promoted. The G. Raymond Chang School of Continuing Education. So he wants to leave a legacy. He wants to be remembered. And he is being remembered for his generosity and his kindness and his influence in creating an education program to help poor Jamaica, right? To a bridging program that he helped create between Ryerson and the university in Jamaica. So his name will be remembered for that. Now, I'm not saying he was righteous or not righteous, but I'm saying he used his wealth in a positive way to try to influence, create an opportunity for others back in his country, that was the country where he was born, that was poorer. He tried to do his best in that regard. And his name is on the school letterhead. The school is named after him. But you didn't know his story until I told it to you. And most people don't know his story, even though they can see his name. So he is remembered somewhat. The name is there, but his story is not. And hardly anyone remembers that or would know that he was a Jamaican Chinese. And when you hear him talk and you hear his Jamaican twang, it was something like, wow, right? Few people know that about him. And so he is remembered. He did what he could, and it will allow his memory to be remembered. But 100 years from now, when I don't tell his story, when nobody else tells his story, when people discover that with the advent of AI, universities are irrelevant, how can his legacy continue? What meaning will it have at that point? Or even 50 years from now, everybody who got a G. Raymond Chang School of Continuing Education certificate, what value will it be? Who remembers G. Raymond Chang in 50 years, in 100 years? So legacy in the material only has a fixed lifespan. But you want a legacy that's in partnership with heaven. And that kind of a legacy is eternal. The wicked, his name will rot. There may be a wicked person who's done a lot of wrong, who's hated in his community. No one will remember him. He'll die, and within 10 or 20 years, no one will even care. No one will even care about his grave. That's just the way it is. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions now. A few questions to ponder. Think about them. What do you want for yourself? This episode was about legacy building. What do you want to build and leave behind when you pass on from this life? Do you want your memory to be blessed or your name to rot? Do you want blessings on your head as you're building a legacy? Or do you want violence on your mouth? Do you want prosperity or poverty? Do you want to make your mother and father glad or grieve them? And do you want Yahweh on your side or not? I want him on my side, and you should too. standing in partnership with the eternal God and doing righteousness is one way to ensure that you build a lasting legacy.